Hello, gorgeous heartbeat, and welcome to Heartbeats Harbor. I'm your host, Brianna Hosack, and I'm here to shine the light on the shadow path we walk as heartbeat women. Women rising into leadership roles as lightworkers, changemakers, worldshakers, or as I call us, heartbeats, do not have an easy path to walk. It often feels lonely, painful, and unique, but I'm here to help you see how very not alone you are, and how beautiful the shadows surrounding you actually are when you love and integrate them on your healing journey. I create spaces and opportunities for women to step into deeper self-awareness, self-acceptance, and personal healing, community and sacred circles, as well as leadership of themselves, their families, their communities, and beyond. My business and my life is and always will be about massive change in the ways things are done around the world. I believe it's a big part of my purpose on this planet to be a voice for those who don't have one, a safe harbor for those who need one, and a beacon of light to inspire a better way. None of this is easy. I've learned that big impact requires bold action and delusional levels of confidence, as well as a ton of shadow work. If you love what you hear on this podcast and you want to be part of the growing, supportive online village of Heartbeats Harbor, make sure you join my Facebook group, which is linked below in the show notes. Now, I can't wait to get started, so let's turn on the lights. Hey, Heartbeats. Welcome back to another episode of the Heartbeats Harbor podcast. Today, I want to talk about going through a growth phase as an entrepreneur and how resiliency plays in. So this is something that I've been experiencing lately. I've been through it before. I'm here again. It happens on repeat when you're an entrepreneur. Well, and really, I think it happens to us all in life on repeat. But specifically, I'm going to speak to entrepreneurship and running your own business and hitting a growth phase. So first off, what is a growth phase? Literally, we're always learning and growing. So how can we consider something a growth phase? The way that I look at it is, think of if you have kids, or when you were a kid, even when you would get growing pains, you would have, you'd be hitting a growth spurt and you would physically experience, pain in your bones, in your muscles, all of that. You'd get more cramping going on in your muscles, things like that. It was uncomfortable, right? It was, and sometimes actually extremely painful. And side note, I've had conversations in the past where people have told me that growing pains don't exist, that doctors supposedly think that they are not real. But I know that I experienced growing pains. I know that my kids experience growing pains. Like, it is a thing. So I don't know where that came from, that it's not technically a thing. They're probably just saying it's actually this and whatever, and fine. But really what it comes down to is it happens when you're growing. So too bad, it's growing pains. So when we look at it like that, like, okay, our bodies, when we hit a growth spurt, have growing pains. This is the same thing in entrepreneurship. This is the same thing with business. As we grow, as our audiences grow, as our offers grow, as our ideas and our mindset and everything expands, we go through growth spurts. We hit what I call a growth phase, and they're something to be desired, right? We want that. We want to grow. We want to up level. We want to be making more money. We want to be having more clients. We want to be selling more things, right? If you're running a business, you want to sell stuff. End of story. So we want this. And yet, with a growth spurt comes growing pains. So with a growth phase there's a lot of stuff that comes up. Okay, so what happens during a growth phase, what that can look like is obviously going to vary quite a bit between people. But it can mean having an influx of clients all of a sudden sign up. And that sounds like a really great thing. But if you don't have systems and structures in place for that, and then that happens, it gets really overwhelming really quickly. And basically, anytime that we have a sudden growth spurt in our business, a sudden growth phase, we're not prepared for that. Even if we have systems and structures, it's like a shock to the system. We don't expect it, right?
Even if we're hoping for it, we don't necessarily expect it. And so we get positives that can feel like negatives. We get this influx of clients, more money, all of that, but then it feels negative because it feels overwhelming. It feels like too much to handle. It's like, what is happening here, right? Like, I'm overwhelmed. I can't deliver on all of these clients at once. I'm not ready for this. I feel like I'm too busy all the time, and so on. And really, it can feel very, very crappy, actually. There are also actual negative things that can happen. So a lot of the time, a business growth spurt is tied in very closely with a personal growth spurt. So not a physical one, but an energetic one. When we are figuring out our a new lesson in life, when we're up leveling in our lives, we can all of a sudden have this phase of things falling away. And this is what we would call alignment, right? This is anything that's not aligned to what we're calling in, to what we're manifesting, has to go. And when we're hitting a growth spurt, it's usually because we've been manifesting that. We've been calling in more clients. We've been calling in more money. And so we hit this growth phase, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, things are falling apart. Everything is breaking. My tech is screwing up. Things are not working. And you have more clients coming in. So it's like you want your tech to be working, right? But of course, that's when it breaks down. And we can say that sarcastically, but actually it's for a reason. And the way that I look at this, I can say like there's all of these positive and negative things, but at the same time, they're all positive and they're all negative, right? It's a little bit of everything wrapped into one. So many clients coming in at once that we feel overwhelmed. That's more money. That's the positive side of it. That's more overwhelmed. That's the negative side of it, right? And when it comes to our tech, all of a sudden breaking down because our tech is maybe not aligned with what we're moving into as far as the size of our business, what it's going to be able to handle, and the capacity it can have. And so it breaking down right when you have an influx of clients, again, seems like a negative because it's not working for you and you're having to scramble and get into sort of this like, what's going on? But it also has that flip side. It also has that positive that you are then moving into finding some software that works for this next level of your business, right? Something that's going to flow better for you, something that is going to do and have all of the functions that you want it to have. And that is something that we just, a lot of the time when we're in it, when we're in the mess, we don't think about that negative, right? Or we don't think about that positive. We suddenly are focusing on the negative. And what happens here is we're calling in this great thing. We're calling in more business. We're calling in more money. We're manifesting that. And then all of a sudden, when all of the alignment starts happening, we're focused on the negative and we're going like, holy crap, I can't keep up to this. Everything is messing up. This is so awful. And we're looking at the negative pieces of it. We're not focused on the gratitude, on the positives, all of the stuff that we were doing when we were trying to manifest. So then what that does is it actually pushes away the thing that we're trying to call in, because we stop with the gratitude and the affirmations and all of the things that we use, whatever you use for manifestation. We stop focusing on that because we're in this panic mode with the alignment stuff that's happening. So, this is why I think that most heart-centered female entrepreneurs, right? Spiritual entrepreneurs who are just looking to serve and help people, when they try to call in money, it feels like, first of all, there's a lot of limiting beliefs in this sort of subset of people who are feeling like I should just do this. It's just a generosity thing. It's just being kind. It's just doing what I should be doing. I shouldn't necessarily be charging for this. So we have to overcome that mindset. When we're trying to call in more money, we have to overcome that mindset of having it be a problem to charge for our services. But I think this is why most heart-centered female entrepreneurs crash and they don't make it through the growth phases. And really a lot of people in general, right? It doesn't just have to be heart-centered female entrepreneurs, but this is the subset of people that I work with that I focus on a lot, and it is who I am. And so it's what I speak to. But what happens is we hit our upper limit. We hit our belief limit or our glass ceiling. And we think, how can this be? This isn't working for me. I wanted more money, but I can't have it because that means having to serve so many more hours. And we have these false limiting beliefs that come in. Statistically, 88% of female entrepreneurs are making less than 100,000 a year, which in this day and age, and this is like, in the Canadian, American, like dollars, we're talking $100,000. But in this day and age, that's barely enough to live a comfortable life. Okay. Where we don't have to worry about money too much. We have all of our needs met. We have a little extra as long as we're being careful. When you're raising a family and you're feeding multiple mouths, paying all the bills, right? That is really an amount that you need if you don't want to be stressed. Okay. Like with the inflation rates, with, you can talk about all of the separate pieces of that, gas prices, food prices, etc. Right. That is starting to become the level that you need to hit. And that feels so out of reach for so many people. For the statistic to be 88% are making less than that, that tells you that a good chunk of that 88% is making quite a bit less than that, right? We're talking in the $10, $15, $20,000 a year range. And that is extremely low for what we have to spend on in order to live. So yes, there are perceptions around what is a have to when it comes to finances, what our expectations are as far as like the different varieties of food that we get to eat, the different things that we get to do for our entertainment. And here's where this really, really ties in a lot is when it comes to our self-care. We need to have fun sometimes. And that doesn't always have to cost money. Absolutely. But a lot of the time they feel like they're related. So if we're broke, if we're like, there's no extra money lying around, it's like we believe we can't have fun. So then we don't bring that into our self-care. And then we don't have that really good balance in our lives. So all of these things really intertwine, right? And when you are a heart-centered entrepreneur and you are hitting a growth phase and everything starts falling apart, you start having those limiting beliefs come back in that you were working through. That, okay, having more money does mean I have to work harder, or having more money is not okay for me because I'm a healer, or, all of these different kind of limiting beliefs that are so common, they start coming back up. And the problem is, again, like I said, then we start looking at the negatives. We start focusing on my tech is falling apart. I'm overwhelmed. I'm busy. I don't have as much downtime right now. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing. And we forget to be thankful for what's coming in, to be grateful for that extra money that's flowing in, that people are saying yes to us, that people do want to pay us. All of these kinds of perspectives that we want to be focusing on are kind of what go out the window first. So what should you do when you hit a growth phase so that you can keep going through it? This is something that I've hit, like I said, I've hit growth phases before myself, and I have struggled with them big time, every time up until now. And that is because I would get stuck in that. I would get stuck in, maybe I just can't do it. Maybe, when more clients do come in, it really is just too much for me and I can't handle it. I'm a single mom. I am too busy to handle more clients. And, all of these, again, false limiting beliefs. And they really tie in with that upper limit problem. And what I discovered right before hitting this growth phase that I'm in right now was the book, The Big Leap. So if any of you are listening to my Suspending Disbelief podcast, you're probably sick of me talking about this because I talk about it a lot. But The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks is all about our upper limit problems. And that is what you could call your glass ceiling, what you believe to be the highest that you can go. And when people talk about breaking through your glass ceiling, that's breaking through your upper limit. That is transcending those limiting beliefs so that you can have more, be more, do more, and feel good while you're doing it, right? Not feel like crap. So when you hit a growth phase, what you want to do is move through it. And on the other side of that, you're going to find that you're able to handle more clients without feeling overwhelmed. You're going to be able to handle more money coming in and feeling good about it. You're going to be able to still have time for yourself and pay all the bills and all of it all at once. You get to have it all. And what happens when we focus on those negatives is then we turn around and we go back where we came from. We don't move through the growth phase. We come up against it as a wall. And so we just stop. And this is, I mean, like I said, I've experienced this on repeat. I have lofty aspirations, right? And I hit growth phases a lot. And when I say I hit them, it's because I do. I smash into them like I'm running into a brick wall. Or I have been in the past. I shouldn't say that I do now, but I have been there every single time in the past. When I would hit a growth phase, it was like running into a brick wall. And I was just like, I can't handle this. And I see it. I see it all the time with my clients, with so many people online. Like, you see it all the time. I was doing so good, and then my life fell apart, right? Now, highly recommend the book, The Big Leap. If you haven't read it, read it. Because whether you're an entrepreneur or just, like whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're a mom, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are, if you're a dad, it doesn't matter. Like, you could just be whatever. You could work for another company and just be happening to listen to this podcast. Okay. We all have upper limits. We all hit growth phases and we all struggle with them. And we get to choose how much we get to struggle. So we can accept it and open up, let go of the grip on the wheel, right? We get to just release that outcome and trust. Or we can hold on so tight and feel like we are not capable of controlling the situation, and therefore turn around and go back where we came from. So this is the Jesus take the wheel, let go of the steering wheel of the car that you're driving, right? Take your hands off it, open them up, unclench, right? And just go, this is what I've been asking for. I'm going to trust that I'm capable of it and look for the proof that it's possible, that I can get there. I am going to be solution oriented. I am going to find the answers that I need. I am capable of this. It's okay if I get a little behind. It's a temporary phase of feeling overwhelmed, and it's okay to be feeling overwhelmed for a little while, giving ourselves that permission. So when you hit a growth phase, what you want to do is keep going. You don't want to stop. You don't want to let that be a brick wall. You want to let it be like you're jumping into a pool of water. So there's that limit. You're hitting that, the outside edge of the water, but when you go into it, you can still move forward, right? So you want to keep going. You want to practice the mindset that what's falling away, the alignment part, the pieces that are no longer aligned, so the things that go wrong when you hit a growth phase, those are clearing the way for something better to come in. And that can feel really crappy because we get comfortable. We get set in our ways of like, this is what I want. This is what I'm experiencing and enjoying. So for it to change means that something bad must be coming. But sometimes we just have no idea what could be even better. And so trusting that what's falling away is clearing the way for something better every single time. And I have so many stories, unlimited stories of proof of this, that when things are falling away, it is always clearing the way for something better. It is never, ever, 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 ever just a negative thing. Okay. And that's really hard to believe, but I've had it proved to myself so many times now that I'm like, okay, I can trust this. I can trust this. I can trust this. And I keep telling myself that. I keep reminding myself of that. And also the mindset that we want to have is that everything is learning. versus hardship. So even if something just feels really hard and it feels really negative, if we look at it as a learning experience, then we get to move forward more easily. And again, that's our resistance versus acceptance. So if we are going, this is just hard, I don't know how to handle this, why is this happening to me? And we're in that sort of victim mode. We're in that mindset of being a victim and everything being a hardship, and it's a dark night of the soul and my life is falling apart and I'm out of control and everything sucks. When you look at it like that, that is when you are choosing. And I am particularly using the word choosing because, again, like what I look at everything with is radical responsibility. So when you decide that everything is negative, it's happening to you, not for you, and everything is just miserable and it sucks and poor me kind of mentality, that is you choosing to hit a brick wall and turn around and go back where you came from. And instead, you can go, I get to learn from this. What can I learn from this? What is the silver lining? What can I take away from this situation that I can use in the future? How can I grow from this? What can I learn? Right. And when you do that, that's when that brick wall turns into just a pool of water that you're diving into, and you get to swim through it and move forward. So it is hard. I will never deny that it's hard. But when you hit a growth phase and everything starts coming into alignment and that feels really hard, the idea is to trust and to let go of that steering wheel and to allow the lessons to happen, trust that something better is coming, trust that where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be, and that your ability to handle this level of craziness and busyness and even what seem to be problems is increasing. The more that you deal with it, the more that you are experiencing it, the more that your ability and your resiliency are increasing and you become capable of holding it. And then when you get to the other side of that growth phase, when you actually move through it, all of a sudden it's easy. And it's like it's always been easy. You get there and you go, well, why did I make that seem so hard? And you can almost laugh at yourself because you're just going, that was me making that hard. Why did I make that so hard? But don't fall into the trap of beating yourself up over having made it hard, because it's not your fault. Like there's no blame involved, first of all. And second of all, if we weren't making it hard, we wouldn't have a lesson to learn. We wouldn't move past that phase, right? So it's all important. Every piece of that learning is important. Every struggle that we go through, every hardship that we go through is teaching us how to be more resilient later and be able to manage bigger, more, better, etc. So the other thing that I see coming up a lot, and again, back to specifically heart-centered, spiritual female entrepreneurs, right? A lot of the time what will happen is they won't hit a growth phase. They will just be in this stasis of smooth sailing and not as much as they want. They're not making the money they want to make. They don't have the number of clients they want to have. They are not, making the impact that they want to make in the world. But they're like, it's smooth sailing. Things are okay. It's fine, right? And they're not hitting growth phases. Now, again, we want growth phases, right? We want to be making more money. We want more clients. We want more free time. We want that growth. So what's happening in those situations is that they've gotten into their comfort zone. They're in their safe zone. And even when your safe zone sucks, even when it's like, I'm so broke, I can't pay my bills, I'm losing my home, all of that, it has become your safe zone. You're staying there because you're comfortable there. Even if it's an uncomfortable comfort, you are comfortable there because you're going, I know this, I understand this, I know how to be in this kind of a situation. And so I can just stay in it and just be, and it's perfect for me. And we're not thinking that in the front of our minds. That's a subconscious belief. That is our RAS, which is your reticular activating system, which is the part of your brain that finds proof to confirm the things that you already believe. Okay, so you are, if you have this belief that you are poor, that you are broke, that you struggle, your brain, this part of your brain will find proof of that. It will continually find proof of that. It will bring in more bills. It will, you will, not think about the things you need to think about and make purchases that are not aligned because they are going to screw you up for bills later and you don't realize it until after the fact. You will, and you literally will just continually prove to yourself how bad you are with money, how much you're broke, how you struggle, and that life sucks and is hard and everything, right? You'll stay in that. And that part of our mind is called the ego mind. Our RAS is called the ego mind, and it is, or our monkey mind, like people have different names for it, but it's where we are allowing our minds to control the situation. We're not trusting, we're not growing. And so we stay where we are and we don't hit growth phases. And if you are in that kind of a situation, you want to push yourself into a growth phase. And how we do that is get really mindful and cognizant and intentional about what we are putting into our minds. So we're not allowing our RAS to take over, right? We don't want it to run the show. We want to say, nope, I get to be abundant. And this is where people talk about embodying your next level before you're there, and people talk about affirmations, and there's so much resistance that can come up around that because it's like affirmations don't fix anything, and on and on. The thing is, your belief has to get behind it, and that does take time. So affirmations, the point of affirmations, or of choosing a new belief and sticking with it until it becomes true, is that we're retraining our RAS. So when we want to stop thinking and stop believing and stop experiencing being poor, struggling financially, and this is just the most easy example to use, right? But there are so many examples of how this plays out in our life. So this can play out in our relationships, our money, our happiness, our creativity, all of it, right? But we get in these belief systems. So if we want to change our situation, what we're experiencing in our lives, if we want to stop struggling financially, we have to start believing that we don't struggle financially. And in order to start believing that we don't struggle financially, we have to start finding the proof of it. And our RAS system is literally going to fight us every step of the way on that. And so it's not easy, but we have to do it. We have to actively be searching for the proof that things aren't so hard financially. So when you start actively doing this, when you're being really intentional about it, you're saying it to yourself, first of all, a lot, so that you remind yourself to be mindful of the fact that your RAS may be tricking you into believing that you are struggling more than you are. So you become more mindful of it. You start looking for the little tiny pieces of proof, like, I found a $10 bill in my pocket. I had a client say yes that I didn't think was going to up level into this higher paid program. I had, and you start finding them, and they can be really small to really big, and you can literally count, you find a coin as you're walking outside and you go like, thank you, universe, more please. And you acknowledge every little piece of it that comes in, and you really look at it and you draw attention to it and you be grateful for it. You bring in that gratitude. That is how we retrain our RAS system to our RAS. I shouldn't even say RAS system because the S stands for system, but our RAS, we retrain it by noticing all of those positives, even if they're tiny and they feel like they don't matter. We notice it, we get grateful for it, we talk about it, we focus on it. We want to keep our attention on those positives as long as we can, and then move on to the next one. Find the next piece of proof. And you have to be really intentional about that at first while your mind is trying to work against you. So it is slow. It's not necessarily overnight progress, and you will get faster at it the more that you practice doing this. But every single time we move into a growth phase, our RAS is going to kick in and try to prove to us, look, this is why we can't handle it. We can't have growth. We can't improve. We can't get better. We can't have more money. We can't have more clients. We can't handle this. We can't. And it's looking for those negatives to keep you safe. So get out of your comfort zone, get out of your safe zone, right? That is when you start stretching yourself out of what feels safe. And you can do that. Baby steps is really the only way to go. Once you start doing that, you will start hitting growth phases instead of staying in that sameness. And never moving upwards. And beware that those growth phases are going to feel like crap. They really are. And that there's just no getting around that. But you do want them. You want to hit those growth phases. And when you do, this is how you move through it. And when you come out the other side, everything is better. And that gets to be your new comfort zone, right? And then we keep on stretching ourselves out of our comfort zone to keep on growing upwards. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to speak to the fact that growth phases are not fun, even though they're what we're calling in. And so when you're trying to grow your business, trying to stretch and get uncomfortable and grow and make more money and find more clients and all of these things, this is what happens. This is every single time. And it looks different every single time, but every single time you hit the hard wall and you need to turn it into a pool of water that you then flow through. And those are just the random examples of brick wall and a pool of water that came into my head to explain it this time. But it is choosing. You get to choose whether you are hitting a brick wall and turning around because you can't go through it, or whether you're hitting a swimming pool and you can flow. So hopefully that was helpful for you today. And hopefully it helps you to move through the next phase. And again, I highly recommend the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, to help really wrap your mind around these concepts. So that is, I will talk to you all next time.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe to be notified of new episodes. If you really love it here and want to help spread the light, please take a moment to rate the show and leave a review. They help so much. If you love listening and want to be part of the interactive and incredible online community we're growing, make sure you click the link in the description box and join the Facebook group. I promise you it is not like other groups you've been in. Hope to meet you there soon, and I'll be talking to you next week, sending you all my love from my heartbeat to yours.